What if I were to tell you there's just five simple, evidence-based facts by robust science and all the rest of it that could help you live up to 14 years longer at whatever age you get to, adding that on to the end at no cost, no financial cost. Wouldn't that be great? And the same five things which I'm going to share today are, I've done loads of research, and when I was watching, I watched for a little bit because I want to live to 101 or more. It's like a goal, as you will, like an overarching thing. Is like when people say to you, "How old do you want to get? Do you want to live forever?" No, I don't want to live forever. How old would you want to be? 101 or more, because then it breaks the trend in my family. Because I think the average age of someone dying in my family in the past has probably been like mid to late 70s. Anyway, just as a side note, I think not only do I want to get to 101 or more, I want to get there in good health, as strong and have a fit body, fit mind, and get there, and enjoy life as well. And don't you? We all want that, right? So 5 things. And what I did is I was watching quite a lot of videos, as you will, on YouTube, and interviews with men, women, aged, like mid-90s, 100-year-old. Like, what's their secret? What's their secret sauce? And the things that they were sharing, what I'm going to share today, were popping up. All of these were popping up, bar one. So 4 of these 5, and I'll tell you, when we come on to the 5th one, you'll know it wasn't that. So they were sharing these kept coming up. And then when you link it back to the evidence-based facts, then success leaves clues, doesn't it? Success leaves clues. So these things, now, if we don't do these things as well, should I say, so it's not a case of if you do it, what's the payoff? If I do these 5 things, I'll live 14 years longer. Well, what if I'm going to get to 100 anyway? I don't want to get to 114. The point is, if you don't do these 5 things, even if you're not doing 1 or 2 of these things, daily, weekly, monthly, not only are you not going to live that extra 14 years, so you're not going to get that extra 14 years at the top end, whatever the age that is, but you could actually live a hell of a lot shorter. What does that look like? I don't know. Imagine getting to, early 50s and you get diagnosed with the big C. Imagine getting told you've got heart disease, some heart problems. You have a heart attack and you've got to have surgery, or something else happens that's quite severe to you, and then you've got to go and tell your kids or your grandchildren, your wife, your husband, whatever that looks like. And imagine that. And I just think not enough people that I know have got a big enough reason why, a big purpose to do these things. Anyway, let's dive in. So I want to share them with you today. This is stacking on the things, the videos and the podcasts that I've been sharing lately before Christmas and this new year. I love this time of year because everyone's geared up. It's January 2025. We've got all these new goals, New Year's resolutions, and that's great. But what we don't want to happen is things to fall off at the end. So things start tapering off, which we know they do. We know that the gyms are absolutely ram-packed in January and you can't get on any equipment. And then by mid-February, it's a little bit emptier. March is like a ghost town, which is phenomenal for me because I get to train on the kit again. But it is a shame to see that these new people that are coming in the gym, these new faces, they're not there anymore. It is a shame. They lack that motivation or that reason why to carry on. And if you like that, if you're watching this and you're like, do you know, Glenn, that's me. That is me. And we've all done it. I've been there. I've set goals before and they've failed. And I've got to January, I've got to February or March, and things that I said in January are like, I'm not bothered anymore. So we've all been there. It's human nature. But if it's happening more often than not, and if it's becoming an issue, then check out my other video after this. Watch this first, obviously. Get your notebook and pen out and take some notes. So let's dive into my other video, which I covered in a release lately. I think I published it yesterday or the day before. Goes on about goal setting. It's a simple, straightforward way. It's super easy. It's something I've used in my career to get to the highest rank that a soldier can get to. I used it again with my wife, to build and grow an online business to help them with IBS and various other bits and pieces, money and stuff. So have a check out of that if you're struggling with goal setting. Recommend it. So let's dive in. So I'm going to do them in reverse order. What I feel is, I guess I say this like loosely, I would say it is the least important to the most important, but actually they all probably are as important as each other. But the 5th one, which I'm going to share with you, is, and I'll explain why, is definitely more important than the other 4. So let's dive in. So number 5, the 5th one. So 5 evidence-based behaviours that could help you live 14 years longer. Are you up for that? Cool, I'm up for that. Who don't want to live longer? So number 5 is regular exercise. We've all heard it before. It's like, oh yeah, I keep hearing it. Listen, if you're watching this, listening to this on the podcast channel Beyond Bathroom Blues, or watching it on YouTube channel Men's IBS Master, then cool. You might be like, Glenn, I'm exercising, I'm regular exercising, I'm training, I'm running, I'm doing weight training, whatever. Cycling, and that's mega. So this bit you can tick off, can't you? Tick. If not, then perhaps, if you're not training, especially if you're not doing anything at all and you've got a sedentary lifestyle for whatever reason, then that could lead to trouble. There could be trouble ahead. So maybe now is the time, draw a line in the sand and say, right, let's take action. So regular exercise, what does that look like? Well, looking at the studies, we all know that it should be some form of cardiovascular exercise, heart health, and some form of strength training. You don't have to go crazy. You don't need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and going to the gym and pumping iron. You don't need to be. Someone said to Arnold Schwarzenegger once, when he was in his prime, oh yeah, bodybuilding, this, that, the other, like a naysayer. I'll never be like you. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So you don't have to go crazy, but it's doing some form of just resistance training is good for longevity. Remember, this is about longevity. It's all about 14 years at the back end, and it's getting there fit and healthy. Having bone muscle and a good muscular physique, as in strong, you don't have to be like him, remember, wrong way. You don't have to like him, is going to fight against, not only is it going to help you build your immune system, as long as you get enough rest and recovery, but it's going to help you minimise when you have injuries, falls when you're older. It's going to protect you as well. Enough said on that. So again, I'm just skimming over them today. If you could do a deep dive on these yourself, but there's other YouTube channels, I'm sure, that have got personal trainers. I'm a personal trainer, but I'm not practicing that at the moment and haven't done for some time. So I'll leave that to the current and experienced PTs as opposed to the old and bold PTs. So regular exercise, what in terms of what should we be doing? I think the minimum is about 150 minutes a week. So what's that? It's like 2 hours 40 minutes. That's not difficult if you break that down. Clearly all at once, some of you might do it all at once, go out for a flipping half marathon or, some crazy run or a long bike ride. But if we just want to break it down and just start simple, remember simplicity. And even if you started off with half an hour a week, it doesn't matter, does it? And you build upon it gradually. So if you've not done anything before, just go out for a walk. Get a dog. Dogs are gleaming if you've got time to spend with them. Go out walking. A long walk. Get your heart rate up. Check it on a heart rate monitor. Get your heart rate up. I don't want to do a deep dive on that today. But that's the kind of just, again, overarching. So that's number 5. Number 4, so we're on 4 now, eat healthy. I know we hear it time and time again. Guys, eat healthy. A Mediterranean-style diet, or a version of, there's so much studies that's robust that say it can increase our longevity as a man. Do you see what I mean? What is that? What is a Mediterranean-style diet? We should be eating, clearly if you're vegetarian or vegan, ignore the first bit, fish. Obviously, you'd have to substitute that if you don't eat fish. But yeah, we should be eating fish, or not too much oily fish, obviously. But we should be eating white meat, turkey, chicken, definitely. But fish, olive oil, vegetables, fruit, and whole grains. We've got to get them macros. We've got to get protein, carbohydrates, and fats. All these idiots out there that think that don't eat carbs. Carbs is the enemy, or fat is the enemy. What a load of rubbish. We need fat. We need healthy fats. There's a difference between healthy fats and bad fats. Okay? Again, I'm not here to do a deep dive on that today. So they're the overarching things. And we should be drinking plenty of fluids. You should be drinking plenty of fluids. Always have water, maybe some cups of tea and coffee, but not too much caffeine. So all these things, healthy diet. Now, obviously, if you've got IBS, a lot of this food could be trouble. It could have high FODMAPs. It could have other things in it that are causing symptoms, that are causing triggers. You might have a food allergy. You might have an intolerance to something. So again, you just have to play around with it, and that's where you've been to the expert. You've had the expert help of somebody like when we work with our clients that can tailor that plan to you as an individual, so you're hitting all your macros, so you can support your training, your work, your fitness, your life, etc., and not have IBS. But we'll come on to IBS shortly. So that's 4, eating healthy, nutritious food and drink. Number 3 is minimise, or even better, guys, stop drinking alcohol and smoking. let's flip that round and start with smoking, because not many people do it nowadays, thankfully. It's becoming less and less cultural, as you will, I see, especially here in the United Kingdom. I don't know about US and Canada. I mean, having been out there several times, I've not really paid too much notice to it. I know that in Germany and France and some European countries, it's still, it happens more, more people do it, should I say, than not. But it's certainly here in the UK, vaping has become, I guess, trending for a while, which, again, look at the data on that and the research that's coming out with vaping if you do it, or if you know somebody, maybe you've got children that are growing up and they do it. It's pretty scary stuff that's coming out about vaping. And we know that there's decades and eons and stockpiles of evidence that steers us away from smoking and how bad it is. So enough said on that. The other one then is alcohol. Again, I'm not going to do a deep dive on this today or any of this. I have done, and please, if you have got issues, or if you're drinking, even if you haven't got issues with alcohol, maybe you're not an alcoholic, or you haven't got any kind of dependency on it or any drama with it, and you're all good, you maybe just have a drink every now and again, but you've got IBS, then obviously I would advise considering to check out my other video on the channel, alcohol and IBS, and that'll be a game changer for you, I'm sure. And again, let me know in the comments how that, if it added value, etc. So with alcohol, a quick story about myself going back in time. I used to drink shed loads, and it's in the video I just mentioned, my story. I used to drink loads. I was in the army for 20 odd years, climbing up the ranks. And the military, the British Army, it's a drinking culture. Well, it was. I don't know if it is now, but it certainly was back in the day. Everything just around drinking. And I made a decision quite a few years ago now to have a detox. Not dry January or whatever else rubbish comes out. I just thought, I want to stop drinking. I had a strong reason why. And again, that's shared that in the video. And I stopped for ages and ages, like maybe nearly 2 years. Then I think it was like the King's coronation in the UK or the Queen's funeral, one of the two. And I had a drink, and then slowly but surely slipped back into drinking again. Since that point in time, I've totally binned it. Now, a few books that I read that helped me. I read Alan Carr's Easy Way to Control and Stop Alcohol. That was excellent. That's the first one that I read when I stopped for nearly 2 years. And then, but it didn't really, I don't know. And I wasn't an alcoholic, by the way. I wasn't some crazy blooming getting up in the morning and drinking rum and coke. But I didn't have a good relationship with alcohol. And also, again, without stealing the thunder from my other video, alcohol and IBS can be trouble. So again, check that out. But for me, going back for the second book and a recommendation, if you've heard of it, and again, no affiliation, is Annie Grace's book, The Naked Mind. I'll put some links in the description, and you can fire away on Amazon or buy them second hand, they're even cheaper. And that one, that was like the nail, as you will, in the coffin that did it for me. And I've not touched a drop of alcohol since, and I can say with 1000% certainty, I am a non-drinker. I will never drink again. And the benefits for me from that, and again, as most of you know that have been following these channels, I've been suffering with IBS. I say suffering with it from 2003, but obviously I've got IBS mastery now and I control it. I still have my odd days where I'll go crazy with food or have a takeaway or something and get symptoms, but it's on my terms. But the whole thing with alcohol, I didn't really have knowingly any issues with alcohol with my triggers, but I know some people do, and some certain drinks can cause trouble for symptoms. So just bear that in mind, just to kind of summarise it as you will on that video. But again, feel free to check that out. It does more of a deep dive. So that's number 3. Number 2 is sleep. I can't put enough emphasis on that. I wish I knew this when I was younger, because we've all been there in his 20s, early 20s, going out, drinking, alcohol, going crazy, meeting girls, women, all this jazz, partying. And sleep is like, I don't know, it becomes more of a hindrance than an asset. It's like more of a, do you know what I mean? It's like no one really bothers with it. It's like sleep less. And it's crazy. So many idiots out there. I've seen YouTube videos on here on people, influencers, multimillionaires, literally promoting the fact and bragging that they only get like 3-4 hours sleep. If that works for you, then hey, we've all got different physiological build-ups and stuff like that. But I would not advise that amount of sleep to anybody. That's crazy. And mine used to be, I used to be okay with around 6.5 hours sleep when I was younger. And I could work all day, focused, etc. when I was in the army. But now, as I'm getting older, I sleep almost religiously 8 hours. I try and get 8 hours because it's the duration as well. So it's the quality of sleep and also the duration of sleep. And obviously the recommendation is 7 to 8 hours. But here's the kicker as well. If you're training, people don't know this. If you're training, and I didn't know this, and I was thinking, when I do quite a lot of bodybuilding, going out running, and I was picking up little injuries and stuff. And I read a book recently, Jeff Nippard, again, shout out, no affiliation, an amazing guy, young lad. I think he's a personal trainer. He's got degrees and stuff in this, that, and the other. And his book, which he's just come out, called The Muscle Ladder, and he mentioned in there about 9 hours sleep if you need like more recovery, like because you're into your training all the time, maybe 3-5 times heavy sessions and all that a week, you could need 9 hours sleep. And I was like, that was a big aha moment for me, as you will, like an epiphany, because the amount of times where I've had 7 to 8 hours sleep and I've woke up and I felt knackered, and I'm like, how am I feeling so knackered? I'm normally all right on 6.5, 7 hours sleep, and I've had more than 7 hours, and there we go. And I was training heavy, and that's probably the reason why. Whereas now, if I've got a few big sessions in, I'll stay in bed, or I'll go to bed earlier because I always get up at the same time, and try and get that extra hour in, and it does feel good. Try it out. But sleep 7 to 8 hours is the sweet spot. Also, just to add to that, because we've mentioned training before, up above about the exercising regularly, etc. Now, and I know this can be tricky if you're busy, maybe you've got a business, you're working long hours, and you're trying to get that exercise in. And some of you, and I've been there myself, where training late can become a nightmare. I've been flat out trying to start this, the business that we've got, etc. And I thought, well, I'll try training late at night because kids are in bed, the work, business is finished, I could chill out, and rather than watch TV, because I'm not into it. Like, I binge watch self-development videos on YouTube all day long, and the odd film, but I don't like watching Netflix and all that rubbish. And I like things that add value. So I'm like, even though that does add value for some people, so I'm not slating it, just for me personally. So I used to train late, probably go to the gym about 8, train till about 9:30, 9:45, and I'd come back and I'd be like, why? And I didn't have a pre-workout, so I wasn't like having caffeine beforehand. I've done that before, and that's crazy. You don't get to sleep till 2 a.m. So late caffeine, just to touch on caffeine, everybody's different. It affects everyone differently. For me, I don't have any caffeine after like early afternoon, probably 2 p.m, 3 p.m. at the latest, and then I just leave it until I go to bed, and that's helped me out massively as well for sleep. So you could try, just tone it in, maybe pull it back with your caffeine intake. Tan it in the morning, get it all in the morning when you need it, and then as the day goes on, just leave it out. Decaf's the way forward, or better still. So with training late, try and avoid it because it can affect your sleep. It can affect getting to sleep massively. I said before, the 9 hours for me for training heavily for sleep durations being a game changer, and not training too late as well as life changing. So I like to train personally early in the morning, or even if I've got to get it in throughout the day, lunchtime at the latest, done. And then it feels better. Happy with that? So the last but least, so we've had obviously regular exercise, it was number 5. Number 4 was eating healthy, nutritious food. 3, minimise or stop alcohol, drinking and smoking. And we've talked about sleep. The last one, number 5, I'm going to put it as number 1. The most important one is mastering your IBS. Now, I know some of you watching this, if you're a professional guy, you're busy, ambitious, and you've got that IBS and it's getting in the way, and you've tried tons and tons of stuff, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, master your IBS, whatever, you're talking rubbish. Bear with me and have an open mind, because, listen, I can tell you firsthand, and I don't tell anybody anything unless it's basically what I believe is the complete truth. I'm not some like charlatan that's going to say, well, you can cure this and you can cure that, because there is no cure. There is no magic pill. But when we say mastering, we know the definition of mastering something is control. So I master alcohol because I control it. I don't drink it. So you could say I've got alcohol mastery. I've got smoking mastery. I've not got, because we're all blooming got us faults, I've not got food mastery. Even though I do eat really, really healthy and drink shed loads of good fluids and don't drink alcohol, I eat processed foods, which I know you know. I minimise it though. That's the thing. So UPF, I keep it down to a minimum. But hey, we all have bars of chocolate and packets of crisps and biscuits from time to time. The key thing is not eating it all the time, because then we pile on the weight and it's not good for our health. It can cause blooming inflammation and all the other jazz that's out there. So for mastering your IBS, this will be a game changer. And if you've tried everything in the past and it hasn't worked, I'm sorry it hasn't worked, but at least you've found ways of not to do it. And again, there's loads of videos on here if you want to check them out about my IBS journey and how clients that we've helped have done what I'm talking about now. Now, the reason why I'm going to put that on a pedestal is, and something I mentioned in the book that I wrote, so I'll just read it from IBS Inversion. There's a bit in there, if you can see. So do what everyone else is doing, be average. So the average person, the average man, because this is helping men, okay, I think it's tragedy. 13 to 20% of just Canadians, so we're just basing it off Canadians, approximately 5 to 7.5 million have IBS, but only 40% of those, so 2 to 3 million, seek medical help. So how crazy is that? So basically the majority of men with IBS that have it, which is loads, 1 in 3, that have got IBS, don't even go and get checked. They don't even go and get screened. They don't get them health checks done, a diagnosis, and their life's just falling apart at the seams because of all the symptoms and the consequences of what IBS can do. All right, so it's important. If you're watching this and that's you, please, 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 I'm not telling you to do anything. Just consider now putting that stake in the ground and having the most important thing that you do in 2025 is going to get a diagnosis and find out what it is that's going on, because it could be something else. Could be bowel cancer, could be IBD, so inflammatory bowel disease, there's loads of them. It could be various other stuff, and then obviously it could be IBS that could be affecting you. So diagnosis is key, but also, why is mastering your IBS so important? It's just, a few gut symptoms, isn't it? Really? Right, IBS, the consequences of IBS, nobody sits down. When was the last time you sat down with your pen, all right, with a journal, and you wrote down in sort of peace and quiet of how it's affecting you? What are the consequences for you personally? Because everybody's different. Now, I could say like overarching the consequences for IBS of not sorting it out. IBS affects sleep. So there we've mentioned about sleep already. Do you see what I mean? So if we've got IBS symptoms getting in the way of our sleep and ruining our sleep duration or quality of sleep rather, so maybe we're in bed long enough, but the quality of that sleep is disturbed because of IBS, because of our gut and how we feel, our mood and depression and all the other jazz that IBS can cause. Maybe then we need to focus on IBS this year as the priority, because that'll help sleep, which we know is key for longevity. It's going to help us live longer. Also, IBS is, obviously with the more sleep we get, the better quality sleep that you have with your IBS dialed in, that's going to boost your immune system. What does having a good immune system do? You're not stupid. You know what having a good immune system does versus what having a poor or weakened immune system does. You're opening yourselves wide open, leaving yourselves wide open to loads and loads of illnesses and diseases and yuckinesses coming late, even if not now, later down the line. And this isn't a scare tactic. This is not a scare tactic. This is, hopefully for if you're watching this, an eye-opener to think, shit, I need to get some flipping help here. I need to get sorted out, because this, if it's left as it is, it's going to wreak havoc on my life. If it isn't already, it's just going to get worse and worse, because it will. For a lot of people, it compounds over time, like most stuff, like putting weight on and all the other bits and pieces. It compounds over time. What does that mean, compounding? It means it gets exponentially bigger as time goes on, and further down the road, it gets huge. And listen, prevention is always better than the cure. Hands down, always better than the cure. Prevention. Try using preventative measures. Getting the health screening if you're a bloke. Going out and getting the checks. Getting the diagnoses and working with somebody that's not a charlatan. That's not going to, quote unquote, pull your pants down and give you the right solution at the right time to get you out of the mess as quickly as physically possible and as safe as possible, so you can move on with your life. Other stuff that IBS is going to impact, obviously, if you're tired all the time because of your IBS and you're in low mood, then studies show, as maybe you know or you don't, you're going to make poor or incorrect food choices. So you'd be more leaning towards pre-made food. I know some of them are good now, but pre-made meals, a lot of them are unhealthy, high in salt, high in saturated fat, a lot of ultra-processed foods, maybe leaning towards takeouts, maybe grabbing a Starbucks on the way home and you're tired, so you're grabbing maybe a muffin or this, that, the other. And again, one off is not too bad. Maybe once a week, not too bad. But regularly is going to have a massive impact on your life and your health moving as you kick the can down the road. So IBS, as you can see now, and I'm literally just skimming the surface with this, guys. I am not doing this a deep dive. I'm just skimming the surface. It's like an iceberg. We're just on the iceberg now, where it's floating on the water at sea in the Atlantic. But what is it's the underneath the iceberg that's huge. And the iceberg is IBS. That's what people can see: the bloating, the sitting on the toilet, the diarrhea, the constipation, the low fatigue, the being knackered all the time and being in low mood. That's the iceberg. But then everything else underneath is the consequences, is what people are not realistic about. And that's just a handful of them. You know, we look at exercising. People that have got IBS, diarrhea, or even constipated. If you're constipated, do you feel like exercising? Difficult. Even though exercise gets the gut moving and helps you go to the toilet. So it's like a catch-22. If you've got diarrhea and you've got loose stools, are you likely to go into the gym and start throwing weights around? If you've got, like, I don't know, a bit of bloating, wind, and it stinks and it's embarrassing, then what happens then if you're not training? Well, if we're not training, we're not doing getting the cardio and the strength training in, what I've mentioned. Again, one off, maybe for a few weeks even, there's no dramas. But as the years go by, what then? We're leaving ourselves wide open to cardiovascular diseases, all this other jazz, the heart diseases, cancers, XY, type 2 diabetes. There's flipping shed loads out there. Do your research. So if you're watching this, hopefully it's a wake-up call for maybe one or two. Maybe it's the motivation that you need in January 2025 to kick this year off and solidify those New Year's resolutions, the goals. And again, if you've not heard of goals or you're struggling with goal setting, watch the video that I released recently. There's two, actually. I did one in December and one in January, just to massively help you out, which I feel is the simplest and best way to do goals that can bring about success. It's something I've used over my army career as an entrepreneur, and it's something I'm sharing with you, so you can get stuck into that. Ignore all these smart goals and hard goals and this, that, the other. They can get confusing. Just keep it simple. So dive into that one. And if you've not had a diagnosis, go and get a diagnosis. To summarise, we've gotten there. To summarise, don't be like everyone else. Do not be like everyone else. Don't do whatever. What is everyone else? Average. You don't want to be average Joe. And you know, average people get average results. And if you like anything like me, or you know, most people that are watching these channels, you don't want average results. You want to be the best in life. You want to kick ass in life. Who doesn't want to do that? They want to live a long time and have a good time while we're here as well, so we can be here for our children, for our relationships, for ourselves, for a business, and create that legacy, that lifestyle that we want to have, and that impact. Whatever that looks like. It's not all about money. It's not all about being successful or go and be a millionaire and this, that, the other, and driving Lamborghinis and all that jazz that you see and all that other rubbish that you see on Instagram. That success is in the eye of the beholder. It's what you deem to be successful. But I can guarantee hands down that 99.99% of people watching this, if you're struggling with IBS or any of those issues there, I can guarantee that most of you do not think that being successful is sat on the toilet with IBS symptoms, not being able to go and see your kids at parents' evening, or farting and maybe following through having accidents while you're out running, because all this is obviously relevant, happens with IBS, getting rubbish sleep all the time, being in low mood and depressed or stressed out and anxious, and all this other mental health problems and physical health problems is not the way forward of being successful and being a successful man. Okay, we're here for one time, depending on what you believe in. You know what I mean? I think some religions or some beliefs think that we're going to come back and be reincarnated. Cool, if that's what you believe in. Personally, I think that we're here in the physical form once, so we get one shot. We don't get. It's not a rehearsal or, you know, we get to do this as a practice and then come back and get it right next time. So hopefully, just to summarise then, so 5 evidence-based behaviours is what went through today that could help you, I would suggest, will help you live 14 years based off the amount of 95 to 100-year-olds that are on YouTube that are saying that are rattling these off, and then the science and evidence that backs it all up as well. So again, 5 just to cover them in the order that we went through them. Regular exercise, we talked about cardio and strength. Eating healthy, nutritious food and staying hydrated. Mediterranean diet, have a look into that for men. There's a lot of studies that point towards that. Minimising that red meat. If you're on a carnivore diet, red meat eaten excessively over a period of time is not great. Again, do your research. Don't look at the research that the carnivore diets are saying to you. Oh, we've done our research. Of course they have. It's biased because they're the ones selling you that diet. So it's going and getting the right evidence from the right people, the right sources. And so we did that then. We did minimise or stop alcohol and smoking. I explained, again, we've got YouTube videos for that and a couple of book recommendations there. Alan Carr's Easy Way to Stop and Control Alcohol, and Annie Grace's The Naked Mind. Again, no affiliation to those whatsoever. Then we spoke about sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night, 9 if you're training hard. Play around with it, but get that minimum in and the maximum and see what's right for you. And obviously the last one is master your IBS, because IBS control or IBS mastery sorts everything else out. It literally does. That in itself is the game changer that will enable you to sort everything else. It's like the key to the kingdom. Okay, happy with that? If you liked this video and it added value, please let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up, or even if it's just a case of Glenn, that was gleaming. If you've got any questions and you want me to go through anything else in another podcast or another video this year, you know, this quarter, then let me know and I'll give it some thought and I'll put that into something as well. And if you want me to give you a shout out, I can do that as well. If you want your name mentioning, that's no problem at all. Again, in the comments, or email me at Glenn, that's Glen, so it's Glenn with 2 N's, how it should be spelt, Glenn at mensibsmastery.com. Happy days. Stay well. I wish you all the success in 2025 and I hope to see you soon. Take care.